Hello, wealth tycoons. Did you know a kid who grown up in poverty created a brand that is known for luxury? That brand is called Rolls-Royce. How a kid that can barely afford a meal created this luxury car brand, and what lesson we should take from his story. We will cover everything in detail on this episode. Henry Royce, who was born in 1863 in Alwalton, a village in England. His parents, James and Mary, owned and managed a flour mill. But James, following the steps of his father, cannot do much well, and the situation worsened to such an extent that they had to declare bankruptcy. After going bankrupt in 1867, the poor Royce family moved to London in search and hope of a better life. Poor Henry, who was only 4 at that time, already had his first job as a bird scarer. But in no time, another tragedy struck the Royce family when he was only 9 years old. His father died. Now all the children had to do compulsory work to make ends meet, including the 9-year-old Henry. So he began selling newspapers and delivering telegrams. Henry's early years of poverty had a profound effect on his health, and by the time he turned 15 years, he had completed only 1 year of school. As a young teenager, he began an apprenticeship with the Great Northern Railway Works. Despite his lack of formal education, but his hard work and skill-learning attitude, Henry took advantage of any opportunity to further his education, like studying algebra, French, and electrical engineering in his spare time. Henry worked briefly for a chill-making company in Leeds before moving on to the Electric Light and Power Company in London. He moved to Liverpool in 1882, where he continues to work for the Electric Light and Power Company. He worked harder and longer than all his co-workers, often skipping meals in favor of tinkering with electronics. After working these different jobs and saving up whatever he could, and finally he was able to afford to take electrical engineering classes at night at the City and Guilds Institutes. With the skills he learned through this, he was able to get the best job of his life so far, working as chief electrician for the Maxim Western Electric Company. And when he feels that his time is coming, or he is making progress towards success. But in 1884, the company drowned and Henry was left unemployed again. In this kind of critical time, what people like me or you have done, looked for another job, right? But no, not Henry. Henry proved himself different from any other. He decided to start his own company because, as always, he felt that there had to be more in life than this. So he spread his hands more freely in the market. But to do so, of course, he needs some help. And to his luck, one of his friends and a co-worker, Ernest Claremont, agreed to take a risk. He was also an engineer. So they began their new journey with a business named F.H. Royce & Company in 1884. They pulled whatever little savings they had and went into business together. They began by making electric fittings, and for that they rented a building on 1A Cook Street in Manchester and lived in a single room above a shop. Both of them could barely afford to eat, so they made sandwiches every single day. Henry did what he'd always done and simply worked harder than the rest with everything he did. He made sure that the product was better than the competition. And finally, after lots of testing, they created their first successful product, the electric doorbell. Also, these began to sell very quickly. Henry was known to stay up working long nights at his desk to make more of them for customers using the money they made. Henry was able to begin creating more ambitious, bigger products like Jenna generators, and eventually even an electric crane. However, despite this success, Henry had already settled his eyes on something different, something more ambitious and luxurious. Now, during the period when owning a car is not so normal, but Henry was one of the first to show interest in automobiles and purchase a used 2-cylinder Carville car. But it was in such a worse condition that it didn't even start. But hardworking and never stoppable, Henry made it work again by the next day. Now he didn't stop here. Instead of repairing the existing one, he decided to build his own. The first car was for himself. The second was given to his business partner, Ernest. But the third was sold to a man so impressed by the vehicle that he introduced Henry to a car dealer named Charles Rolls. Here, the combo of two different people who experienced exactly opposite phases of life met. But one thing common between them is their passion for cars. And hence, within minutes of seeing Royce's twin-cylinder 10 horsepower, Rolls knew he had found what he was looking for. After taking the motor car for a drive, Rolls agreed on the spot to sell as many motor cars as Royce could build, under the name Rolls-Royce. Creating a brand requires vision. Cars. Henry was born in poverty and worked hard for everything he had, and Charles had everything to him. There was also a major age gap. Charles was 27 and Henry was 41 years old. Despite the differences, each brought a lot to this partnership. Henry had years of experience in building electronics and mechanical objects to perfection. Charles, apart from his passion for cars and its speed, he was an incredible businessman. He knew how to harness the power of marketing and public relation. Charles used his connections to the upper class to his advantage. He exploited his ties in the world of politics, media, and even royalty to find customers who could afford to buy their luxury cars. They are expanding day by day. The Rolls-Royce Silver Ghost. All of the metal parts were coated in silver and aluminum. After completing a 15,000-mile endurance run, they decided to pull a publicity stunt to shock audiences. They placed a cup of water on the running engine. It was such a quiet engine that it didn't spill a single drop of liquid. At the time, it was dubbed the best car in the world. And as of today, the Silver Ghost is still considered to be one of the most valuable cars. And once they established their name in the car business, Rolls' interest turned increasingly to flying, and he tried to persuade Royce to design an aero engine, to which he refused as he wanted to focus on creating much greater cars. As the company was established successfully, Charles decided to resign from his position of technical director and devoted his time to his passion of flying. He had also embarked on his journey in flying, but unfortunately during an air show, Charles was flying with incredibly strong wind. He was pushing the plane to its limits, and when he tried to land, the aircraft began to fall apart. Charles Rolls went down in history as the first Briton to die in a plane crash in 1910. He was just 32 years old. Also on another side, due to his childhood health traumas, Henry also becomes ill. And the doctor told him that he has only a few months left. But still, this also didn't stop him from doing his work for his passion. He insisted on checking new designs, drafts, etc. Now, even though for years Henry had refused to make airplane engines, time came when he was forced to do so at the beginning of World War I. And here is the beginning of Rolls-Royce's, another legacy of plane engines. So they opened a new Rolls-Royce factory in Springfield, Massachusetts. One thing about their legacy is everything is made by hand, even if it takes more time. And it is true till today. It can take approximately 6 months to complete one vehicle. At last, Henry was awarded with the Order of the British Empire in 1930, and soon after he died at the age of 70. Today, Rolls-Royce remains a highly prestigious and valuable brand in the automotive industry, which defines the legacy of these two men. Throughout his life, Henry faced numerous challenges, including health issues that forced him to step back from day-to-day operations. Despite these setbacks, his commitment to perfection never becomes weak. He continued to innovate and push the boundaries of what was possible in car engineering. And that's the amazing story of Henry Royce and Charles Rolls. They started with a dream and faced many struggles along the way. Henry's passion for engineering and Charles's vision for luxury cars brought them together. They built Rolls-Royce from the ground up, creating cars that stood for the best quality and elegance. Despite tough times and setbacks, their hard work and dedication paid off. They left behind a brand that still symbolizes luxury and perfection today. It's a story of friendship, perseverance, and two boys who never give up on their dreams. No matter how the circumstances act on, they stand firm against it with patience and their hard work and achieve every dream of their life. Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey. If you enjoyed this story, please like, comment, and subscribe for more inspiring tales. That's it for today. Are you a fan of Rolls-Royce too? Let us know in the comments section. See you next time.